giver of life, creator of heaven, creator of earth. We have come to worship you. In the name of the Father, the Spirit, the Son, we lift our praises, we bring you our song. We have come to worship you. We join with the angels to sing your praise. We join with creation to celebrate. You are worthy. You are worthy to be praised. Through all generations, the church has proclaimed. You are the one God, you're mighty to save. You are worthy. You are worthy to be praised. Our great Redeemer, our Savior and King, we come with reverence with our offering. We have come to worship. We have come, oh, we have come to worship you. We join with the angels to sing your praise. We join with creation to celebrate. You are worthy. You are worthy to be praised. Through all generations, the church has proclaimed. You are the one God, you're mighty
what you can do, oh God of wonders. Your power has no end. The things you've done before, in greater measure, you will do again. There's no prison wall you can't break through, no mountain you can't move. All things are possible. There's no broken body you can't raise, no soul that you can't save. All things are possible. The darkest night, you can light it up. You can light it up. Oh God of revival, let hope arise. Death is overcome. You've already won. Oh God of revival, you rose in victory, and now you're seated forever on the throne. Though I should my heart beat what you defeated, I will trust in you alone. There's no prison wall you can't break through, no mountain you can't move. All things are possible. There's no broken body you can't raise, no soul that you can't save. All things are possible. The darkest night, you can light it up. You can light it up. Oh God of revival, let hope arise. Death is overcome. You already won. Oh God of revival. Oh God of revival. Oh, you are the God of revival. Yeah, yes. Come awaken. Come awaken your people. Come awaken the city. Oh God of revival, pour it out, pour it out. Every stronghold will crumble. I hear the chains hit the ground. Oh God of revival, pour it out, pour it out. Come awaken your people. Come awaken your city. Oh God of revival, pour it out, pour it out. Yeah. Every stronghold will crumble. I hear the chains hit the ground. Oh God of revival, pour it out, pour it out. Won't you pour it out on us? Won't you pour it out on us? Hey, won't you pour it out on us? There's no prison wall you can't break through, no mountain you can't move. All things are possible. There's no broken body you can't raise, no soul that you can't save. All things are possible. There's no prison wall you can't break through, no mountain you can't move. All things are possible. There's no broken body you can't raise, no soul that you can't save. All things are possible. All things are possible. Yeah. All things are possible.
And good evening, Elevate Church. It is so good to be with you guys tonight. Now, of course, first and foremost, I just want to say big thank you to Elim Sound for their worship tonight. Blown away by those two new songs, brand new songs we've heard, and we've got another one to follow at the end tonight. So please stay tuned, not just for the preach, but also for the final song, the worship time at the end tonight, which is just incredible. So once again, big thank you, Elim Sound. From us, really appreciate it, and we really appreciate all that you do for us. So tonight, guys, we are going to continue to look at our Daniel series. We're looking at Daniel chapter 4, and we're going to be going through, looking really at King Nebuchadnezzar. He's in another place. He's messed up again. He's just got it wrong, but yet he might have got it so wrong, but yet has he got it right? There's so many questions tonight that we're going to be looking at, and maybe I might be hitting on a few nerves tonight, but I absolutely believe this. There's not many preachers that talk about mental health and well-being. And tonight, as we look at Daniel chapter 4, we're going to be looking a little bit about mental health and well-being, and what does that actually look like in the church? What does God think of that? What has God got for us, for our futures, for our hopes, our plans? In this tonight, and as we look at Daniel chapter 4, we're going to be pulling out some of that and some of the real issues, the real topics that we go through every single day, and not to just brush over them, but to hit them on a real curve of going, okay, this is where we've been through, but yet God has got so much ahead of us that He is preparing us for that time and that season that we'll be heading into. Don't want to lose that tonight. Don't want to rush it or even kind of brush it aside, but we're going to be looking at that tonight. And as we look at it, for those of you that like titles of sermons, the title for tonight, yes, we're on our journey series, but we're going to be looking at the power lies within. The power lies within. Believe wholeheartedly, guys, that each and every one of us can have an opportunity to step into all that God has for us. And even if we hit difficult times, we can still walk in the path of what God has for us, despite there may be a trial, despite circumstances, despite all of that stuff. I am committed and blown away that God, despite the circumstances, can equip us, can build us, can even put us out to fields for pastures for rest in seasons to get us ready for where we are going and for how that is going to look. Never despise the place of where you're in or you're at right now, because you don't know what's around the corner and you do not know what God is going to do in and through you for the future. So please, guys, if any of you are struggling today, tonight, tomorrow as you're watching this, I'm absolutely believing that whilst we're in this season and we're going through it, listen, this could be a moment that you realize where you are, how we are positioned, how we're placed, because man, there is a new season coming, there is a new opportunity coming, and there are times that we can step into all that God has for us. And maybe this season that we are in right now could be a resting season. We could be put into pastures green, and we could be ready for God saying, listen, take time out, have a time of rest, and we're going to go for what God has got for each and every one of us. So tonight, before I go on any further, our reading tonight is given to us by Ellie, and we're going to go with this.
A reading from Daniel 4. Nebuchadnezzar's dream about a tree. King Nebuchadnezzar sent this message to the people of every race and nation and language throughout the world. Peace and prosperity to you. I want you all to know about the miraculous signs and wonders the Most High God has performed for me. How great are his signs, how powerful his wonders. His kingdom will last forever, his rule through all generations. I, Nebuchadnezzar, was living in my palace in comfort and prosperity. But one night I had a dream that frightened me. I saw visions that terrified me as I lay in my bed. So I issued an order calling in all the wise men of Babylon, so they could tell me what my dream meant. When all the magicians, enchanters, astrologers, and fortune-tellers came in, I told them the dream, but they could not tell me what it meant. At last Daniel came in before me, and I told him the dream. He was named Belteshazzar, after my God, and the spirit of the holy gods is in him. I said to him, Belteshazzar, chief of the magicians, I know that the spirit of the holy gods is in you, and that no mystery is too great for you to solve. Now tell me what my dream means. While I was lying in my bed, this is what I dreamed. I saw a large tree in the middle of the earth. The tree grew very tall and strong, reaching high into the heavens for all the world to see. It had fresh green leaves, and it was loaded with fruit for all to eat. Wild animals lived in its shade, and birds nested in its branches. All the world was fed from this tree. Then, as I lay there dreaming, I saw a messenger, a holy one, coming down from heaven. The messenger shouted, Cut down the tree and lop off its branches, shake off its leaves and scatter its fruit. Chase the wild animals from its shade and the birds from its branches. But leave the stump and the roots in the ground, bound with a band of iron and bronze and surrounded by tender grass. Now let him be drenched with the dew of heaven, and let him live with the wild animals among the plants of the field. For 7 periods of time let him have the mind of a wild animal instead of the mind of a human, for this has been decreed by the messengers, it is commanded by the holy ones, so that everyone may know that the Most High rules over the kingdoms of the world. He gives them to anyone he chooses, even to the lowliest of people. Belteshazzar, that was the dream that I, King Nebuchadnezzar, had. Now tell me what it means, for none of the wise men of my kingdom can do so. But you can tell me, because the spirit of the holy gods is in you. Daniel explains the dream. Upon hearing this, Daniel, also known as Belteshazzar, was overcome for a time, frightened by the meaning of the dream. Then the king said to him, Belteshazzar, don't be alarmed by the dream and what it means. Belteshazzar replied, I wish the events foreshadowed in this dream would happen to your enemies, my lord, and not to you. The tree you saw was growing very tall and strong, reaching high into the heavens for all the world to see. It had fresh green leaves and was loaded with fruit for all to eat. Wild animals lived in its shade, and birds nested in its branches. That tree, your majesty, is you. For you have grown strong and great. Your greatness reaches up to heaven, and your rule to the ends of the earth. Then you saw a messenger, a holy one, coming down from heaven and saying, Cut down the tree and destroy it, but leave the stump and the roots in the ground, bound with a band of iron and bronze, and surrounded by tender grass. Let him be drenched with the dew of heaven. Let him live with the animals of the field for 7 periods of time. This is what the dream means, Your Majesty, and what the Most High has declared will happen to my lord the king. You will be driven from human society, and you will live in the fields with the wild animals. You will eat grass like a cow, and you will be drenched with the dew of heaven. 7 periods of time will pass while you live this way, until you learn that the Most High rules over the kingdoms of the world and gives them to anyone he chooses. But the stump and roots of the tree were left in the ground. This means that you will receive your kingdom back again when you have learned that heaven rules. King Nebuchadnezzar, please accept my advice. Stop sinning and do what is right. Break from your wicked past and be merciful to the poor. Perhaps then you will continue to prosper. The dream's fulfillment. But all these things did happen to King Nebuchadnezzar. 12 months later, he was taking a walk on the flat roof of the royal palace in Babylon. As he looked out across the city, he said, "Look at this great city of Babylon. By my own mighty power, I have built this beautiful city as my royal residence to display my majestic splendor." While these words were still in his mouth, a voice called down from heaven, "O King Nebuchadnezzar, this message is for you. You are no longer ruler of this kingdom. You will be driven from human society. You will live in the fields with the wild animals, and you will eat grass like a cow. 7 periods of time will pass while you live this way, until you learn that the Most High rules over the kingdoms of the world and gives them to anyone he chooses." That same hour the judgment was fulfilled, and Nebuchadnezzar was driven from human society. He ate grass like a cow, and he was drenched with the dew of heaven. He lived this way until his hair was as long as eagle's feathers, and his nails were like birds' claws. Nebuchadnezzar praises God. After this time had passed, I, Nebuchadnezzar, looked up to heaven. My sanity returned, and I praised and worshipped the Most High and honoured the one who lives forever. His rule is everlasting, and his kingdom is eternal. All the people of the earth are nothing compared to him. He does as he pleases among the angels of heaven and among the people of the earth. No one can stop him or say to him, "What do you mean by doing these things?" When my sanity returned to me, so did my honour and glory and kingdom. My advisers and nobles sought me out, and I was restored as head of my kingdom with even greater honour than before. Now I, Nebuchadnezzar, praise and glorify and honour the King of heaven. All his acts are just and true, and he is able to humble the proud.
Thank you so much for that, Ellie. Really, really appreciate it. Such a long text today. But guys, absolutely critical. We are looking at the power that lies within. And as Daniel was one that was, listen, he was totally sold out to God, doing what is right, looking for, standing up for justice, standing up for people when they were doing stuff that was wrong. He was like, listen, guys, we need to do the right thing regardless of what it costs. Here we are today, guys. We're looking yet again. King Nebuchadnezzar is in this place. He's in a place whereby it's almost like we're reliving chapter 2, whereby chapter 2 was like there was a dream that was had, and of course, the king, he wanted help, he wanted support, he wanted people to come alongside. In fact, he called a whole lot of people. So let's pick it up. The dream was told. One of the first things that we're going to be looking at, and of course the Bible text that goes with that. And I'm just going to pick it up. This is the same, almost word for word of what goes on. So verse 7, it says, when all the magicians, enchanters, astrologers, and fortune tellers came in, they told them the dream, but could not tell me what it means. Now, amazing, right? You would have thought the King Nebuchadnezzar would have learned the lesson. He did not get what he wanted back in chapter 2. Here we are, chapter 4, still in a place whereby the whole stuff has happened. Last week we had Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and someone else was in the fire. all walking around unharmed, came out praising God. Man, it was, King Nebuchadnezzar saw with his own eyes the power of God. Yet, he calls for the magicians and enchanters, astrologers, fortune tellers came in. Guys, sometimes it's a really hard lesson to learn. But as we read this, I got a little bit of smile on my face because it's almost as if King Nebuchadnezzar has a bit of a sigh of relief when he says, at last, Daniel came in. It's like, where have you been? I'm with these other guys. You know these can't help. But yet I've got to call them. Yet I am here waiting for you to help me. Where have you been? Some of us are like that, right? Some of us can kind of go through the motions, and yet what is right in front of us, you know the person is going to be able to help you, but yet it seems, do I need to go to them again? It seems, am I going to the same place, the same person? And I'm going round and around and around in circles. Tonight, guys, maybe some of us need to realize that we need to drop a little bit of pride and to realize that it's okay to need help. It's okay to call people that you know that have helped you in the past and can help you in the future. It's okay for them to be the first call instead of being the last call. It's okay to hold your hand out and say, can you help me? Rather than, I'm going to be the last person you turn to. And then they realize, oh, so you've asked everyone else, have you? It's okay. But here we are for King Nebuchadnezzar stretching out, going, guys, can you help me? And of course, Daniel does what only Daniel can do. I find it quite amazing that even within this text, we've got King Nebuchadnezzar kind of appreciates that the faith that Daniel has. I'm blown away by that. And it says the spirit of the holy gods is in him. Not quite an understanding of what is going on there for him, but yet he appreciates that there is something special about Daniel. He appreciates there is a power that is within him. And he can't really explain it because he's not yet fully experienced that. Well, we'll wait. There's something that is coming that is really, really exciting. Okay. So as we move on, the dream was told. And as we move on to the next one, the interpretation of the dream. Now, there's a few things we're going to hit on here tonight, guys. So as we pick it up, 22, and it says, that tree, your majesty, is you. Bit of a wake-up call. So he has this dream. He has this vision. And this dream is really, it's quite hard to, I think for many of us, would be quite hard to take. But for the king, he was almost expecting it. And he was like, come on, spit it out. Just tell me, what does it really, really mean? So we're in this place, okay, and he says, that tree is you, your majesty. For you have grown strong and great, and your greatness reaches up to the heavens, and you rule to the end of the earth. What a great testimony that he has right then. That's amazing. That is amazing. Now, notice this. I find this quite incredible that within this story, King Nebuchadnezzar is a guy that he must be extremely talented. He must be a guy that his leadership skills are outstanding. He must be a guy that is able to lead a community and for them to follow. He must be a guy that has passion that people come alongside and go with. He must be a guy that people look to and to say, take us on this journey with you. He has built vast kingdoms and people around him appreciate and know him as king over all. I think that's a beautiful picture. See, but whilst that happens, we're not bringing into question any of that tonight. Because that goes without saying. The Bible is really clear about the talents that he has. This is not about that, guys. This is about pride. This story is about pride, but it's bigger than that. See, if we can have pride that puffs ourselves up, bigging us up, we can quite easily have a fall. And of course, pride comes before a fall. That's taken from the Bible in any case, which is taken from one of the Proverbs. Just look it up for yourself. Pride comes before a fall. Now, here we are. we're in this place whereby Daniel now acknowledges, King Nebuchadnezzar acknowledges that he's in a place where he is the great one. Look at what I've created. That's not really a good place to be. And he's walking a dangerous line, and he's walking a tightrope. Why? Because he's shouting about his own goodness. And there's a very fine line, guys, between being proud of what you've done and being boastful for what you've done, and almost not taking into consideration anything that God has done in and through you. And by standing up and saying it's all done through me, that's just rubbing, salt into wounds. God's going, what? After all I've done for you, what? I don't understand. And we need to be looking tonight as there is a line of authority that is dropped. See, tonight, if the authority level was acknowledged right away from the beginning, the pride would never be an issue. And if authority was given, and if King Nebuchadnezzar said, God, I thank you for all that you've done for me, you have a level of authority that is always there, and that never fails. If that is the case, it's never about me, but it's about someone else. But yet, that was never the case. This is about a lack of authority in King Nebuchadnezzar's life that caused him to have pride that overflowed in and through his life. That was the fall. And as we pick this back up in the scripture, we see this. It says, then you saw a messenger, the Holy One, coming down from heaven, cut down the tree and destroy it, but leave its stump and the roots in the ground, bound with a band of iron, bronze, surrounded by tender grass. Wow. So as we look at that, guys, I want this tonight to be an encouragement, because quite easily bad stuff can come into our lives. And quite easily we can choose to make the wrong choices, and quite easily we can choose to go down the wrong paths. We can do that. And it's quite easy for that to happen. We can be taken up by the wrong crowd. Somebody could come into our lives that could twist things that what we think was the right way around, and all of a sudden becomes the wrong way. Things can happen that would seem, why would I ever let that happen in the natural? But yet we do. And whilst we're looking at this text tonight, I am reminded, King Nebuchadnezzar, in his dream, the dream was really clear that it was going to be cut down. The tree was going to be cut down. Why? Because the tree had gone bad. The tree had gone bad. Now, I live in a village called Caerphilly, and all around us, there is a vast amount of trees that have been recently chopped down. And the council has embarked on a process of years and years of taking down these trees. These trees have gone bad because they've got an infection that is in them. And that infection is carried from tree to tree to tree, causing them to go bad and to rot and to cause vast damage. The only way to stop that is to get rid of the bad ones, and thus stopping it from transferring to the good ones. That tree, see, they could be really good trees, but yet over time, they catch an infection that causes them to break down, and they end up becoming weaker and weaker and weaker. And no matter what you do, no matter if you chop them down, they will never come back again. But in this story, we've got something that is really clear. See, remember what I said in the beginning, that King Nebuchadnezzar was a guy that was, yes, his leadership skills must have been outstanding. The kingdoms that he had were world class, and everyone was looking at him. But yet, he had the wrong attitude. So there was a vast amount of things in him that were right, but there was a few things that were wrong. And those few things were overriding the other things within his life, causing him and his vision, his mindset to be a bit out of kilt. I don't know about you and me, but I can get like that. We've got to be a bit real tonight, guys. We can be like that. We can be people that can be a little bit off kilt, and we can make the wrong choices. But here we are. God sees that, and he says, right, I'm going to make some adjustment. Why? Because within you, you've done some wrong. Within you, your pride is grown to heights that now needs to be cut down, now needs to be amended. However, there are some really good characteristics within you, and you now need to take time out and to build and to develop and to grow. So therefore, I'm going to put you out to pasture. Notice this, guys. The tree was chopped down. The tree was chopped down, but the tree was protected. Let's pick that back up. The tree was chopped down, but the tree was protected. Cut down the tree and destroy it, but leave the stump and the roots and the ground. Bound with a band of iron and bronze as surrounded by a tender grass. Okay, iron and bronze. Why was it those materials? I'll tell you why. Those materials, iron and brass. Iron was for strength. Bronze was to protect all that was good around the tree. Now, I don't know if any of you know, there's some specific characteristics about bronze. That is, it is really good for keeping off some bad stuff. So it's really good to fight against certain things that would kill the tree. But here we are, it's been bound and protected and covered. You can do your own kind of illustration. You can find out on Google yourself later the goodness that is within having bronze. And the same applies with brass as well. Two different types of elements. I'm not going to go into science tonight. Two different types of elements, but yet the one is much better than the other one. One is really good at keeping salt water out and other stuff, and the other one is really good for protecting. Well, the one that is good for salt water is the bronze, and it kind of will protect and hem in all that is good. Remember, this is about God keeping what is good, and therefore the ability to strengthen and to encourage and to grow for future time. Wow, this is so encouraging, guys. So, there is, and as I jump down, and I jump down to the next red bit, it says, this means that you will receive your kingdom back again once you have learned that heaven rules. Okay, so we know that in this process, we know that there's bad stuff that has gone, that was within King Nebuchadnezzar's life. We know that. We know his attitudes are wrong. We know his thoughts are wrong, but yet we know his leadership is good. We know there's things that are around and about him that he has produced, but is excellent. And the others look at him and they are comforted by what he has produced. Now, within that, we've just found out that he is going to be cut down, but yet the roots are going to be protected. There's going to be hem around it. Why would that be? Because there is goodness still within his life. Not everything is wrong. There are still things that are good within his life that God's saying, I'm going to protect that, but I am going to let that grow and to flourish after I chop off the bad stuff. So once that happens, therefore the next step will be, I love this. The next step will be that he will be able to restore his kingdoms once he's come to a place. Okay, we're going to pick it up in the next place. Interpretation of the dream. Now, the next place was the dream. The dream became reality. And all of a sudden, this dream that was kind of, when is this going to happen? Of course, he shouted out, walking across the rooftops, look at the great city of Babylon. By my own mighty power, I have built this beautiful city, and my royal residence displayed the majestic splendor. Now, what we mustn't forget is this. Just before this verse, Daniel pleaded with King Nebuchadnezzar. King Nebuchadnezzar, you don't have to go down this path. If you want to keep on walking this path that you're walking, and you keep on doing stuff that is wrong, then God will teach you a valuable lesson. But yet, he chose not to listen to that. The same as he didn't listen in Daniel chapter 3, he didn't listen in Daniel chapter 2, and he certainly didn't listen in Daniel chapter 1. So here we are in Daniel chapter 4, picking this up. And guys, he's in a place whereby he's shouting about the goodness of, look at what I have done. as soon as he has said those words, while these words were still in his mouth, the voice called down from heaven, "O Nebuchadnezzar, this message is for you. You are no longer ruler of this kingdom. You will be driven from human society, and you will live in fields with wild animals, and you will eat with grass. You'll eat grass like cows. 7 periods of time will pass where you'll live this way until you learn that your Most High rules over the kingdom, and the world gives you to anyone he chooses." Okay, pause. Now, this is one of the areas that I see that there's maximum growth. From this moment on, this period of time, it's almost like God is taking him out for pasture. He said, "King Nebuchadnezzar, your time is done. You're going to be taken out. You're going to go and live in a field with wild animals. You're going to be like them. You're going to eat like them. You're going to feel what it's like to be like them. However, you won't have your mind. Your mind will be changed." You're thinking, "Pete, what are you talking about?" See, it talks clearly about the coming chapters whereby, and he looks up to heaven, and his mind came back. So therefore, his mind changed whilst he was in the field. His mind changed. He became like the wild animals. And the things that he once made him strive for, the things that impressed others, drifted to one side. And the people that wanted to come up, almost the people that you would have thought would have chased after him to find out if he was okay, didn't for that period of time. Guys, we're not talking of a couple of months. We're talking a long, long period of time. That number 7 was bandied about. I've looked lots into that, and the majority of people are in agreement that 7 means 7 years. He was put out to 7 years. It says his hair grew very long, as long as eagles' feathers. Now, within this, guys, I did a little bit of digging. The average hair on your head, what's left of mine, the average hair on your head grows between 4 to 6 inches a year. So for his hair to have grown to the length of what we're talking about would have taken a very, very, very long time. And he would have been living as a wild animal for that length of time. Could you imagine? During that time, no one came looking. No one came hunting. He was put out to pasture. Now, for some of us guys tonight, during this time that he was put out to pasture, even though physically, body-wise, he was there, but his mind wasn't. In this season, I believe this is a season of repair and a season of rebuild. Some of us, guys, have been through some really traumatic times. And mental health is a word that is bandied around so often today. We can be talking about mental health and well-being all the time. And tonight, I want to just hit on a few things tonight about mental health and well-being. Because mental health is real. It is a illness that we can go through. It is a season that we can go through. But there is an opportunity that we can come out of it. And come out of it much stronger than when we went into it. But we need to come to a place where we understand what we've been through and maybe how the change has happened. Maybe even come to a place of saying, there's a point of that time of my life, I don't remember a great deal about it. It's gone from my memory. But now I'm a different person with a different mindset. And so often there's people that I know personally that have been through a tough time. They've been through a season of darkness, yet they've come through at the other side and their lives have been radically transformed. It's not a place of being I'm not good enough. It's not a place of any of that. It is a place of saying, in this season, it is a place of taking time out to be restored, to be renewed, and to have almost a refreshing placed upon your life. And God talks about that really clearly. And for King Nebuchadnezzar, he experienced it because he was living a life that was one way, yet God came into his life and taught him a whole new way. Now notice this. When they talk about the tree being cut down, and the tree was cut down and it was protected, the stump was protected, the roots were protected. During that time, it would have had to have taken time for that tree to have sprouted new shoots to come up from it. And in those new shoots, there wouldn't be any badness because the bad is gone. And yet all you've got is the goodness coming up through the ground, coming up into the new shoots. And when that happens, there comes a revitalizing of life that springs forth. And then when that happens, people want to come around and about and alongside because there's something infectious about newness. There's something infectious about growth. There's something infectious that encourages each and every one of us that when we go through these phases, when you hear the words new, growth, and attitudes, and all of those buzzwords that you hear, why is there an excitement? Because people want to be around it. I want to tell us tonight, guys, it's okay when you've been put out to pasture and you think, what am I doing? I'm away from it and I don't understand what's going on, but yet I know there's going to be a new season for me, but I don't know when that is. I'm saying tonight, hold on, guys, in the season where you're in. Don't rush it. In fact, I'd say the season that you're in right now is a time of refreshing and renewing and repurposing, because there will be a time that you come out of it that is so encouraging, it will place you on a level that you've never experienced, but it's one where God wants you to go. And one that you can say, God, I look to you and you've carried me through. I am now a new person with a new direction. I am transformed in ways that I've never experienced. And this is exactly what Nebuchadnezzar went through. He went through a time whereby he was cut down. Everything he knew was taken from him. His kingdom still carried on. Yet, his growth still continued to come through. And when that happened, there was something like a renewing of his mind that strengthened and encouraged. Now, as we go back to the text, I'm going to pick this up. This is amazing, guys, as we bring this back up tonight. Okay, so it says, you are no longer the ruler of kingdoms. You will be driven from human society. You will live in the fields with wild animals, and you will eat grass like cows. Seven periods of time will pass and live away until you learn that the Most High rules over your kingdoms in the world and gives them to anyone he chooses. Exactly, saying, listen, God is in control, and until you realize who is the one who is in control in your life, it will not be restored back to you. But when you do realize, then it will be restored. Wow, look at this, guys. After this time had passed, I, Nebuchadnezzar, looked up to heaven. Change. I just want to just take that picture. He said he looked up to heaven and my sanity returned. I praised and worshiped the Most High and honored who ruled over everlasting. Okay, so picture this. Picture this, guys. He's been living like a wild animal for a long period of time. He says his nails are grown like big claws. He has long hair. He'd been eating off grass. His head would have been down as he'd been eating from the grass. Picture this, guys. You're downcast. You're in a place where you want to give up. You're in that place where you think life is so hard. Yet, in the moment, you choose to look to a different picture. Your eyes are set to something different. Rather than looking at the floor, you choose to gaze upon heaven. You say, God, only you can take me to a new place. Only you can take me to new heights. And it's because of what you've done in and through me is the reason why you're going to take me on this journey. As you realize that God is the one that's going to put you on that path, all of a sudden it puts you on a place that you've never experienced. And God goes, yes, you finally realized the purpose and the plan in your life. Lifting your eyes from one place to somewhere else. I want to encourage you tonight. Get ready to fix your eyes on something new. Don't look down, but yet look up, because he will be the one that will carry you through. Okay, as we move along the text. Oh, guys, presence of God on me tonight. So, as we move across the next text, he says this: when my sanity returned to me, so did my honor and glory and kingdom. My advisors and nobles sought me out, and I was restored as head of my kingdom with even greater honor than before. Wow, guys. The season that we're in, you can feel that you're pushed to one side. And you can feel that, guys, I've been put into a field where I feel isolated, I feel alone, I feel segregated from everyone else. Yet I want you to be encouraged tonight that whilst you're in that place, or you could even be going into that place, in that place there is an opportunity for growth that you've never ever experienced. And yet, when we come out of there and we go into a new season, all of a sudden, don't be alarmed and worried when people start to come alongside you and your ministry that you once had on one level will jump to something that is a new height and at new levels, because the kingdom of God is advancing in and through your life. My advisors and nobles sought me out, and I was restored as head of my kingdom with even greater honor than before. God is no man's debtor. And when we step into what God has for me, guys, when we listen to the voice of God and we do what God has called us to do, God will not let you go, and he will not fail you, and he will not push you to one side. What he will do is say, listen, you're on a learning journey with me, and there are many great characteristics that you have, but there are some bits and pieces that we need to get rid of. And as we get rid of them, so you will grow and flourish without the stuff that holds you back, but you will have a newness and a new approach that will come, that only can come through God. And when that comes, we need to be ready for the new season that is about to come. And King Nebuchadnezzar, when he wrote this, he was writing this because he came through it and through the other side. He was able to look back and to say, God, you've taken me from this place. I was like a wild animal, yet I looked up to heaven and you changed my whole life. Why? Because he acknowledged who God was in his life. Going back to the words that I said earlier about understanding authorities in each and every one of our lives. As soon as King Nebuchadnezzar understood who the real ruler was, who has the authority in and through his life, then no more will there be pride, because his eyes are fixed on Jesus. His eyes are fixed on God, the author, the finisher of the faith. He is the one that is able to carry us through. He is the great I am. I am the person that will carry you through. I am the person that will see this season through. We need to be so ready, because going back to the title, guys, the power lies within. It was not all bad what was already put into King Nebuchadnezzar. It was not all bad. There was only some things that came bad after time. But God chose to remove those characteristics. He chose to develop the good ones and to restore and to rebuild where he had failed previously. That only happened when he was willing to humble himself and come underneath the authority of God. Tonight, guys, I believe this message is deeply spoken to many people tonight. When we understand the power and the authority of God in and through our lives, it will no longer be about us being boastful for what we can do, but it's about all what God can do in and through us. This week, I pray that you will have a really blessed week and that you will really feel the power and the presence of God as you live and breathe throughout this week. Let you be an encouragement to others. And as we finish tonight, we will be finishing with a new worship song. Encourage one another, guys, in and through this. We will be doing our Zoom afterwards. I'd love to catch up with you. Please, guys, as always, the best is yet to come.
Spirit break out, break our walls down. Spirit break out, heaven come down. Spirit break out, break our walls down. Spirit break out, heaven come down. Our Father, all of heaven knows your name. Sing louder, let this place erupt with praise. Can you hear it? The sound of heaven touching earth. The sound of heaven touching earth. Our Father, all of heaven knows your name. Sing louder, let this place erupt with praise. Can you hear it? The sound of heaven touching earth. break our walls down. Spirit, break out. Heaven, come down. Only for you. Fresh Spirit, God. Nothing else will do. I only trust in you. Nothing else compares to what I found in you. Nothing else will do. I only trust in you. Nothing else compares to what I found in you. You are my refuge. You are my refuge. You are my refuge. You are my refuge. Nothing else will do. I only trust in you. Nothing else compares.